Hello YouTube, Ronan Kazi. Got a Division 2 video, but really this is for any video games, soloing and grouping. So, I recently talked to you about soloing, how it's beneficial. Being alone can help you, but being in a group can help as well. So, what I wanted to show you is the same mission, and I'm doing Potomac Event Center, and one as solo and one as a group. The mechanics of doing it is I just jumped in any random heroic, and then I went right into it immediately after as a solo player. A couple things happened in both of these videos. We wiped in the group, and I wiped as a solo. And in the group, I'm using a different build. I'm using a build. The event's still going on, Hollywood, so I have a Jammer Pulse on just for the... I normally would have like a Healing Hive or something in this build. This is my red build. This is a red build that has some of the red pieces rolled red from yellow healing pieces, so I have a high repair. I have improvised pieces, so I have 6 mods in there, and they're all elite elite damage reduction, and then of course I have red as my core on 6 of the pieces. This is kind of like a hybrid build. And I also have a Ridgeway chest, so I put bleeds on people and I can get health from that. And pretty quickly the two videos start diverging. At the end, it was about 20 minutes of group play and 33 minutes of solo play. Right, the penalty for dying in the group is your 25% of the damage, and hopefully you all don't go down, which we did. But normally 1 death isn't catastrophic, but in solo 1 death is catastrophic. So you play a little bit more conservative, or not. But that's what I did. And so in theory, if I would have done this video correctly, I would have run it in solo. I find out where the spawns are so that when I'm in the group, I can be the perfect group player. The other things I wanted to point out to you is that your loadout's going to be different. Let's talk about a backpack. If you had Memento backpack, that's a great solo backpack in some ways. I still don't really use it, but I can see why people would use it in a solo, because it kind of lets you ramp up to get, higher damage and higher protection. But in a group, you might not be getting all the kills, so you might not be getting that many. I'm not a real big fan of having a bunch of... You saw I died right there, and then we ended that section, so I popped back up. I'm arguing with myself internally, which is better, to have like opportunity on a backpack or something like shock and awe on a backpack where I'm doing more damage. Is it better to do more damage? If I'm doing 20% more damage and my role in the group is to kill things, then it might be better that I don't have, group-wide buffs. It might be better that I'm just killing things as fast as possible, and that helps the group. So there's some of those dynamics that we may or may not get into. I don't know where the discussion is going to take me, but those are some thoughts on that. But in general, there's some pieces that you shouldn't use. For example, I'm going to use Destiny 2 now. And again, this applies to any game. Destiny 2, there's a power skill called Stasis, and if you have a Stasis weapon, you can end up creating like an ice barrier that when you break it, which is easy to break, it does AoE damage, and it can also block people. But other people, it's hard for them to shoot through, and it can block their line of sight. So it's not the greatest group. And I happen to have that on a bow in that game. So it's like a sniper rifle. So my rate of fire is slow. In a group, I'm not going to kill a lot of people with that. So that's probably not the best weapon in a group. There might be some, crowd control case scenarios, but that's just a case where I shouldn't be running that in a group. And so in the Division 2, and again, in any game, there's certain builds that are better for group than not. And then the other thing that you have to consider, so there's a couple things you have to consider. One, what is my expected role? What do I expect my role to be? How is my build? Is my build a DPS build? Then obviously people are going to expect me to DPS. They're not going to expect me to gimp my build to share some status effects with everyone. If I'm a healer in the healer role, then people might expect that. They're not going to expect me to do a bunch of damage, but is my 10% bonus going to make up for me not doing any damage or me doing less damage? And it's not for nothing that the bonus on that one green set where they give you 25% damage if you don't ever get shot is 25%, because that's providing your level of DPS to the group, right? That's kind of giving the other members your stuff by you hiding and staying in cover. So those are some considerations in all of this. When you're soloing, you're learning where the spawns are, you're learning how the mission goes. You're learning that when you're on Potomac, if you're playing against whatever these people are, Forsaken, Lost, or whatever they are, that when they have those people charging you that blow themselves up, that's how do you counteract that? If we weren't in the event, I would have thrown out shock traps. But because we're in the event, I need to kill these people relatively fast. And you can see how far behind I'm starting to get. Is that you need to kill things fast on one hand, but you also can't die. So that's why, I'm going to have a turret, and then I'm going to have that pulse to strip that armor off them on the solo. And I did it over here. Again, I think killing things faster, I think I've told you about this. I think modern gameplay puts a premium on attacking, not defensive stuff. Because I think it's the game's funner, not when you're turtling, but when you're like a jackrabbit, when you're running through things. And I would argue this with you. Why would they ever time things if there wasn't a premium on how fast you do things? Whether you like to do it or not, that's one measure of how successful you are. It's like how fast it takes me to do something. So it's important that you do things solo, I think. And it's important that you can spend some time alone. Again, the difference is you're not always alone. You're not always forsaking other people. There's a time to be alone, and there's a time not to. And there's some games that the mechanics are a little bit different as you do higher level content. I got a video coming out here in the future. I'm not going to steal from it now, but it gives a great indication about group play and some of the things we're talking about. And that's a case where the solo play is not an indicator of the mission, so it's not really helpful. But solo play helps you to bring your style. And hopefully when you get in a group, then you can do some type of comparison. If you're not killing as many people, why aren't you killing as many people? If you have relatively the same gear set, then you have to ask yourself, why am I a bad shot? Am I killing things later? Am I focused targeting? Are people focusing on my target? So I'm doing a lot of damage and then they're getting the kill, which doesn't matter because we're in a team. It's not a competition. Or is it a competition? All these parameters you're setting in your life. And this goes in your life and your gameplay and everything. How are you measuring success? And I'm going to go a little bit further. Who defines success for you? I would submit that you define success for you. I don't ever hear a lot of situations where people are happy, where success is defined for them by external forces, by the media, by your parents, by your boss. You derive satisfaction from setting your goals and accomplishing your goals. And the people in your life, whether they're critical or supportive, are going to give you feedback. Hey, you're setting your goals too low. You could do a lot more. You have a lot of potential. Or man, you are taking on too much. And in all those scenarios, I would tell you that you should ask why the person's giving you the type of feedback they're giving. Are they legitimately trying to help me, or are they trying to set me back, or whatever? And a lot of the stuff we talk about is an examined life. Ronan, it's tedious. I want to play my dumbass game. I don't want to just constant be in psychotherapy every day about my life. Yeah, and I don't either. I don't either. I don't want to psychoanalyze everything I do. So, what to do? That's why you're going to take some type of interval that's somewhat consistent, so that you're kind of cleaning out the cache, or you are, tidying up things that will give you a way to kind of put some of these things in perspective. Am I being social enough? One of the things about senior people, which I'm fast approaching that landscape, is socialization. A lot of seniors are missing socialization. Would you say someone that's on TikTok all the time, are they over socialized, or are they less socialized because they're not meeting with real people? If you think about some of the explanations for problems, it revolves around people's interaction with other people. Maybe they're not interacting enough, where they don't have empathy, or. I don't have the answer. And I'm not trying to give you a prescription. What I'm asking you to do is just examine that. So, okay, Ronan, I'm examining all this, so what good does it do me? Well, again, if you're defining your success and you pick an area that is setting goals that's attainable in a short, let's say 30, 60, 90, and let's not even break it down at that scale. Let's go a little bit, can I see something within the next hour in gameplay? I'm playing this game, and I play it on something other than normal. If you play it on normal, I salute you. If you want better gear, guess what? You're going to have to end up at heroic, because you're going to get better gear. And that I can attest to. I don't know if the gear is any better in legendary, but I know that the gear from challenging to heroic is better. The other attributes are higher. So when you get a piece of armor, the attributes are all higher, so there's less optimization that you have to do. It's less expensive. And for you to optimize all your gear to kind of ignore that benefit of heroic versus challenging, you probably have to have a lot of mats to do that. And if you'd like to have different builds for different situations, it just gets exponentially large. You might as well do heroics. So you do heroic control points, and there's other pieces of armor that are better for that or not. If you're making skill builds, it's always easier because the core attribute is at 100% of its possibility. So that's one less attribute you have to roll. So let's say on gloves, knees, or holsters, if the skill level is +1, check. Then you have 2 attributes that you have to fool with. As soon as you update one of those with your library, then you only really have 1 attribute that you have to optimize. That's why skill builds are the cheapest and easiest to get into it. I'd also submit to you, they nerf skill builds in the summit when you're fighting the rogues, because if they didn't, you would just run skill builds and win. If you went, I want you to imagine this, if 4 of you went in with high skill damage into any legendary, and you were running turret and attack drone, you would roll through there because you have 2, 3 times 4, you have 12 things firing at things nonstop. It'd make the game too easy. So what's the purpose of your build? What are you trying to accomplish out of your life? So are you trying to be healthier and eat less? Then what I would say is spend a little more money to eat better so that meal lasts better. You're probably going to have more protein because it's going to make you feel fuller, blah, 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 blah. The path to that's easy. And I want to lose weight, then I might have to drink a little more water because it's going to tide me because I'm just not eating as much. And I'm not telling you have to restrict your calories. There's other places that are going to tell you exactly how to do all this and how to get the results. But really, what we know about any type of dieting or changing behaviors, that we sometimes we backslide. And that's just because the goal probably was too overly aggressive. For no reason other than there was a point when I got out of the military and I had a type of job that I was on the road all the time. I ate like shit. I didn't work out. I didn't do anything. And I ballooned up to quite a bit, probably like 60, 70, 80 pounds more than I am now. And in over 12 years, I lost all that weight. But that's like 5 pounds a year, 6 pounds a year, right? That's nothing. If that's 6 pounds a year, that's a half a pound a month. But I've never put the weight back on because I ended up changing my lifestyle for a lot of different reasons. But that's what I'm going to tell you. So there's no shortcuts. Getting back to this game, there's no shortcuts in this game. Vile Jammer is a shortcut. But I will agree with you, sometimes that's not satisfying. Why do I play anything but Vile Jammer? If it's the best Ronin, why do you play something else? Because there's something about the gameplay when you melt someone that feels good. I'm not going to deny that. And the pragmatic person in me says, if I use this Vile Jammer for 95% of the content, I'm just going to walk through the content. They even have this whole scenario with these guys with their armor that plays right to the strength of my build. You need to Vile Jammer. You need to jammer them to get rid of their armor. Alleluia. But legendaries, if you go against the Black Tusks and all their technology, a jammer locks down their technology. Hallelujah. Please like, subscribe, hit the little bell dingy thing. So there's some benefits to soloing. Conversely, if you do a lot of grouping in heroic, if you go back, or challenging, you go back and do whatever level of your play that is, and you go back as a solo, it should be easier because you know where all the spawns are. And then you can, Ronin solo. That is so, I'm so sorry. But then you can use those single target backpacks, items, chest pieces that only benefit you. But I'm going to tell you, high DPS is always preferable. Time to kill is important. It can get you through everything. So there's a lot of benefits to quiet time, to meditation, to soloing, to being alone. There's a lot of benefits to grouping, to socializing, and really it's a balance. And like I told you, it's a bandwidth issue. It's can I keep my life between these two lines that are not on the extremes? There's a narrow bandwidth of peak performance, and can I stay in that bandwidth? And when I say bandwidth, usually when they're talking about the performance of something, there's an area where it's optimal, the top. Imagine a XY chart, and imagine that it looks like a trumpet where lines go kind of up, and in between those lines is the optimal, and outside of those lines are the less peak performance, and you could go over. Well, Ronin, if it's good, I want maximum group. That's like what OCD is, right? So clean, organized desk is good, but clean and organized where there's diminishing returns, where you're spending too much time cleaning, not enough time, too much. Conversely, Oh, I just let it messy, and it's so messy where you're losing. Right, it's bad. That's a top and a bottom area. Somewhere in the middle, and you might kind of sinusoidal, like a sine wave, go up and down inside this bandwidth. So I'm done here on the group, right? It took 20 minutes in a group, and I'm still humping over there on the left side. You're going to switch the video over just to the final gameplay. And there we go. So now you're just getting the solo side. This applies to all games in general. Might not apply to all levels in the game. Like, it doesn't apply to heroic and challenging. The missions are a little bit different. So if I solo on normal and I group on hard, I'm not getting some of the advantages. It's not a one-to-one correlation like we've talked about. And in Destiny 2, it's the same thing. I recently have done some Lost, whatever they are, things. And doing them solo, not on the hardest level, is different than the hardest level. Like the parameters change. So, one last thing. This will come out after I've done my lunch. Yesterday I did my lunchtime I had a hot dog with jalapenos, and it was jalapeno cheese, sausage, hot dog thing, whatever. And I had a tornado. And it's not like the tornadoes at 7-Eleven that was creamy juiciness inside. It was a gag-inducing, full hot dog style thing of chicken, unnatural, with crust around it. And when I bit into it, I wanted to throw. I didn't gag, but I virtually gagged. So that lunch was less than yesterday. So I'm in search of a tuna fish sandwich. And you know why I do it, YouTube? I do it for you. This is Ronan Kazi, suffering for the folks of YouTube, for your enjoyment. Have a great day. Bye.